All right, my daughter needed a show. Sorry. All right, the next one is provision. Give us this day our daily bread. This is letting God know that we do need you. We can't do this on our own. We need you spiritually, emotionally, physically, literally food. Like, give us our bread, our daily bread, sure, and everything else that he gives us. That a lot of times I do this. I take credit for it, or I give the credit to my husband, which he is working hard to provide for us. But, God gave him the job. God gave him the brain to be able to do his job. And there are times where I do pray for provision and things, and God answers my prayers and provides things. For example, I've been praying a lot for our house and for the garage addition to get done quickly because it's stressful and it takes time. Jesse spends all of his free time out there. And I'd love to have him back, hanging out with the family. So I've been praying for that. And no joke, a guy the other day walked down our street and asked Jesse if he needed help. The guy is a framer, I believe, and Jesse totally needed his help this past weekend. And he's going to be doing a bunch of work for Jesse for like a really great price. So that right there is an answered prayer. And I just give God the praise for that. And that strengthens my faith. It wants me to pray and ask for more things and see what God does with that. So God is the ultimate provider. And we're just acknowledging that here and asking for his provision. The next one is forgiveness. This one is a little tricky. It's forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. God makes it very clear that we need to do this regularly. This is kind of like the guidebook broke this down. I thought it was interesting how love is a choice, that we wake up every day and choose to love our spouse no matter what kind of mood we're in that day or what we're going through. And forgiveness is like that. It's not something that's just coming naturally. You're not just like forgiving people that do harm or wrong things to you, but it's a choice that we're making. And by making that choice, God is also forgiving us for our things because we're not perfect either. Maybe we're not making people's days great. So forgive, people, we get forgiven, and all that brings us closer to God, which is what God wants. God knows what we need and what's best for us. So he's asking us to forgive our debtors, and he forgives us because it just draws us closer to him, and it allows us to expand the kingdom. And that's what all this comes back to. Each one of these, it gets us closer to him, and it helps us understand like what he wants us to do. So that's an important one. Next one is guidance. This is a big one. It's, and lead us not into temptation. Sorry, I'm trying to see my notes. Lead us not into temptation. The world is a tough place. We constantly don't know what to do, where to go, who to be friends with, who to marry, to move or not to move. So this is something we need to pray for regularly, whether we have big decisions to make or just the small ones, like where to go for dinner that night could possibly be in your prayers. God knows where he wants to take us, but we don't know. So constantly asking God for guidance and to lead us in the direction that he wants us to go, because he actually does care for us and wants to help with those decisions. So guidance. I definitely don't do this as much as I should. I make a lot of decisions really without praying for guidance. But this, going through this prayer this last week and breaking it down has really opened my eyes to areas where I need to look to God for more answers, and guidance is definitely one of them, because I want him to guide me. I don't just want my own mind to guide me because I might go to the wrong place. Yeah. It seems obvious that we would ask him for guidance, but for some reason for me, I don't always do that. The last one is protection. And deliver us from evil is part of the Lord's Prayer. This is acknowledging that we live in a broken, corrupt world. The devil is literally out to steal our joy and just rain down all kinds of awfulness. So this is acknowledging that the devil is real. We are in a spiritual war and that we need God to protect us. So praying to God for help and strength in certain situations so that we can go on doing God's will. This is a major one. I don't on a regular basis pray for his protection in that way. I pray for my kids' protection a lot and like their health and safety, but not as much for me. So this has opened my eyes to that as well, where I just need to actually ask God for protection because we live in a messed up world. So it's very important. So overall, this breaks down the Lord's Prayer in a way that I had never done before. I used to think the Lord's Prayer was kind of weird and not too important. It just seemed kind of lame. Like, this is how you pray. And it didn't really make much sense for me. But breaking it down and really diving in deep to these parts of the Lord's Prayer has opened my eyes to God's character and his will in my life. And it allows me to see, the life that God wants for me. If I do all these things, if I pray in this way and really go into the character and kingdom and provision, all that, then I am surrendering my whole life to him. And it allows me, I feel like, to get answers and answered prayers. So I look forward to praying like this for the rest of my life. Bye.